नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are reading from chapter 7 of the Adi Lila, and we'll be reading from verse 157 onwards. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Din Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. प्रभु यवे याना विश्वेश्वर दर्शने लक्ष लक्ष लोक आसी मिले सह स्थाने. Prabhu Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Yave, when Yana goes, Vishweshwara, the deity of Varanasi, Darshane, to visit Laksha Laksha, hundreds of thousands, Loka people, Asi, come, Mele, meet, say that sthane, on the place. Translation: when the Lord went to visit the temple of Vishweshwar, hundreds of thousands of people assembled to see him. Purport: the important point in this verse is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited the temple of Vishweshwar, Lord Shiva, at Varanasi. Vaishnavas generally do not visit a demigod's temple, but here we see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited the temple of Vishweshwar, who was the predominating deity of Varanasi. Generally, Mayavadi sannyasis and worshippers of Lord Shiva live in Varanasi, but how is it that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took the part of a Vaishnav sannyasi, also visited the Vishweshwar temple? The answer is that a Vaishnav does not behave impudently toward the demigod. A Vaishnav gives proper respect to all, although he never accepts a demigod to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, there are mantras offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, the Sun God, and Lord Ganesha, as well as Lord Vishnu, all of whom are worshipped by the impersonalist or as Panchopasana. In their temples, impersonalists install deities of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, the Sun God, Goddess Durga, and sometimes Lord Brahma also. And in this system is continuing at present in India under the guise of the Hindu religion. Vaishnavas can also worship all these demigods, but only on the principles of the Brahma Samhita, which is recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We may note in this connection the mantras for worshipping Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, the Sun God Ganesha, as described in the Brahma Samhita. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktir Eka Chayava Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichanurupam api yasya cha cheshtate sa govindamadi purusham tam aham bhajami. The external potency Maya, who is the nature of the shadow of the Chit, that is the spiritual potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. This is from Brahma Samhita 5.44. Kshiram yatha dadhi vikar vishesha yogat sanjayate nahi tatah prithag asti heto yah sambhutam api tatha samupayati karyad govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Milk is transformed into curd by the actions of acids, yet the effect curd is neither the same or nor different from its cause, viz. Milk. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a similar transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. This is from Brahma Samhita 5.45. Bhaswan yathashma shakaleshu nijeshu tejah swayam kiyat prakatayati api tavad atra brahma ya esha jagad anda vidhana karta govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion Brahma receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests a portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear such names as Suryakanta. This is from Brahma Samhita 5.49. Yat pad pallav yugam vindhya kumbha dvandve pranam samaye sagana dhirajah vignan vihantum alam asya jagat trayasya Trayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda. Ganesha always holds his lotus feet upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles on the path of progress in the three worlds. Brahma Samhita 5.50. Yat chakshur esha savita sakal grahanam raja samast sura murtir ashesha teja yasyagnya brahmati sambhrita kala chakro govinda madhipurusham tamaham bhajami. The sun, full of infinite effulgence, who is the king of all the planets and the image of the good soul, is like the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. But Brahma Samhita 5.52. All the demigods are servants of Krishna. They are not equal with Krishna. Therefore, even if one goes to a temple of the Panchopasana as mentioned above, one should not accept the deities as they are accepted by the impersonalists. All of them are to be accepted as personal demigods, but they all serve the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shankaracharya, for example, is understood to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva as described in the Padma Puran. He propagated the Mayavad philosophy under the order of Supreme Lord. We have already discussed this point in text 114 of this chapter. Tanra dosha nahi tenho agna kari dasa. We must offer proper respects to all the demigods. If one can often offer respects even to an ant, why not to the demigods? One must always know, however, that no demigod is equal to or above the Supreme Lord. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabha Bhritya. Only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all others, including the demigods such as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, and Ganesha, are his servants. Everyone serves the purpose of the Supreme Godhead, and what to speak of such small and insignificant living entities as ourselves. We are surely eternal servants of the Lord. The Mayavad philosophy maintains that the demigods, the living entities, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are all equal. It is therefore a most foolish misrepresentation of Vedic knowledge. Verse 158. Snana karite yabe yana ganga tire tahani sakala lok haya maha bhide. Snan bath karite, taking yabe, when yana goes, Ganga, Ganges, tire, bank, tahani, then and there, sakala, all loka people, haya, assembled, mahabhide, in great crowds. When Lord Chaitanya went to the banks of the Ganges to take his bath, big crowds of many hundreds and thousands of people assembled there. Verse 159. Bahutuli Prabhu Bale Bala Hari 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 Dhvani Kare Loka Swarga Martya Bhari. Bahutuli, raising the arms. Prabhu Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bale speaks. Bala, of all of you chant Hari Hari, the holy name of the Lord Krishna. Haridhvani, the sound vibration of Hari. Kare, does. Loka, all people. Swarg Martya, in heaven, the sky and the land. Bhari, completely filling. When the crowds were too great, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood up, raised his hands and chanted Hari Hari, to which all the people responded, filling both the land and sky with the vibration. Verse 160. Loka Nistariya Prabhura Chalite Haila Mana Vrindavane Pathaila Shri Sanatana. Loka people, Nistariya delivering, Prabhura of the Lord, Chalite to leave, Haila became, Mana pine, Vrindavane toward Vrindavan, Pathaila sent, Sri Sanatan Goswami. Translation. After thus delivering the people in general, the Lord desired to leave Varanasi. After instructing Sri Sanatan Goswami, he sent him toward Vrindavan. The actual purpose of Lord Chaitanya's stay at Varanasi after coming back from Vrindavan was to meet Sanatan Goswami and teach him. Sanatan Goswami met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after the Lord's return to Varanasi, where the Lord taught him 2 months about the intricacies of Vaishnava philosophy and Vaishnava activities. After completely instructing him, he sent him to Vrindavan to execute his orders. When Sanatan Goswami went to Vrindavan, there were no temples. The city was lying vacant like an open field. Sanatan Goswami sat down on the bank of the Yamuna, and after some time he gradually constructed the first temple when other temples were constructed, and now the city is full of temples, numbering about 5,000. Verse 161. Ratri divase lokera shuni kolahala Varanasi chadi Prabhu Aila Nilachala. Ratri night divase day lokera of the people in general Shuni hearing kolahala tumult Varanasi the city of Banaras chadi leaving Prabhu the Lord Aila returned Nilachala to Puri. Because the city of Varanasi was always full of tumultuous crowds, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after sending Sanatan to Vrindavan, returned to Jagannath Puri. Verse 162. E lila kahibe aage vistar kariyash sankshepe kahilan ihan prasanga paya. These lila pastimes kahiba I shall speak aage later on vistara vivid description kariya making sankshepe in short kahila are spoken ihan in this place prasanga topic paya taking advantage of. I have here given a brief account of these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, but later I shall describe them in an extensive way. Verse 163. E pancha tattva rupe Shri Krishna Chaitanya Krishna nama prema diya vishva kaila dhanya. This pancha tattva rupe, the Lord in his 5 forms, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna nama, the name of the Lord Krishna, prema, love of Krishna, diya, delivering, Vishwa, the whole world, and Kaila, made, dhanya, thankful. Translation. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates of the Panchatattva distributed the holy name of the Lord to invoke the love of Godhead throughout the universe, and thus the universe was thankful. Purport. Here it is said that Lord Chaitanya made the entire universe thankful to him for propagating the Sankirtan movement with his associates. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already sanctified the entire universe by his presence 500 years ago, and therefore anyone who attempts to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sincerely by following in his footsteps and following the instructions of the Acharyas will successfully be able to preach the holy names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra all over the universe. There are some foolish critics who say that the European and Americans cannot be offered sannyas, and here we find that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the universe. For preaching work, sannyasis are essential. These critics think that only Indian and Hindus should be offered sannyas to preach, but their knowledge is practically nil. Without sannyasis, the preaching work will be impeded. Therefore, under the instruction of Lord Chaitanya and with the blessings of his associates, there should be no discrimination in this matter, but people in all parts of the world should be trained to preach and given sannyas so that the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement will expand boundlessly. We do not care about the criticism of fools. We shall go on with our work and simply depend on the blessings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, the Panchatattva. Verse 164. Mathurate Pathaila Rupa Sanatan Dui Senapati Kaila Bhakti Pracharan. Mathurate, toward Mathura, Pathaila sent Rupa Sanatan, the 2 brothers Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Dui, both of them, Senapati as commanders-in-chief, Kaila, he made them Bhakti devotional service, Pracharana, to broadcast. Lord Chaitanya dispatched the 2 generals Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami to Vrindavan to preach the Bhakti cult. Purport. When Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami went to Vrindavan, there was not a single temple, but by their preaching they were gradually able to construct various temples. Sanatan Goswami constructed the Madan Mohan temple and Rupa Goswami constructed the Govindji temple. Similarly, their nephew Jiva Goswami constructed the Radha Damodar temple. Sri Gopal Bhatt Swami constructed the Radharaman temple. Sri Loknath Goswami constructed the Gokulnanda temple, and Shyamananda Goswami constructed the Shyamasundar temple. In this way, many temples were gradually constructed. For preaching, construction of temples is also necessary. The Goswamis not only engaged in writing books but also constructed temples because they are needed for preaching work. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted the cult of his Sankirtan movement to spread all over the world. Now that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has taken up this task of preaching the cult of Lord Chaitanya, its members should not only construct temples in every town and village of the globe, but also distribute the books that have already been written and further increase the number of the books. Both distribution of books and construction of temples must continue side by side in parallel lines. Okay. Verse 165. Nityananda Gosane Pathaila Gora Deshe Teno Bhakti Pracharila Ashesha Visheshe. Nityananda Lord Acharya to preach extensively the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport: the name of Lord Nityananda is very famous in Bengal, of course. Anyone who knows Lord Nityananda knows Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. But there are some misguided devotees who stress the importance of Lord Nityananda more than that of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is not good, nor should Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu be stressed more than Lord Nityananda. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, left his home because of his brother's stressing and importance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu over that of Nityananda Prabhu. Actually, one should offer respect to the Panchatattva without such foolish discrimination, not considering Nityananda Prabhu to be greater, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be greater, or Veda Gosai to be greater. Respect should be offered equally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasati, or Bhaktivinoda. All devotees of Lord Krishna or Nityananda are worshipable persons. Verse 166. Apane Dakshina Desha Karila Gamana Grame Kaila Krishna Nam Pracharana. Apane personally Dakshina Desha, South India, Karila went Gamana, traveling Grame in each and every village. Kaila he did Krishna Nam, the holy name of Lord Krishna, Pracharana, broadcasting. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally went to South India and he broadcast the holy name of the Lord Krishna in every town and every village. Verse 167. Setubandha Prahanta Kaila Bhaktir Prachara Krishna Prema Diya Kaila Sabara Nistara. Setubandha, the place where Ramchandra constructed his bridge. Pranta, up to that place, Kaila did Bhakti of the cult of devotional service, Prachara, want, Raksha, Krishna Prema, love of Krishna, Diya, delivering. Kaila did Sabara, everyone, Nistara, deliverance. So, this was verse 167. I will repeat the translation once more. Thus the Lord went to the southernmost tip of the Indian peninsula known as the Setubandh, Cape Comorin. Everywhere he distributed the Bhakti cult and love of Krishna, and in this way he delivered everyone. Verse 168. Aita Kaila Panchatatvera Vyakhyana Ihara Sravane Hai Chaitanya Tattva Jnana Eta Des Kaila describe Panchatatvera of Panchatattva Vyakhyan explanation Ihara of this Shravane hearing Haya becomes Chaitanya Tattva, the truth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Jnana knowledge. I have thus explained the truth of the Panchatattva. One who hears this explanation increases his knowledge of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport: the Panchatattva is a very important factor in understanding of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are Sahajiyas who not knowing the importance of Panchatattva concoct their own slogans such as Bhaja Nitai Gora, Radhe Shyam Japa Hare Krishna Hare Ram, or Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Rama Shri Radhe Govinda. Such chants may be good poetry, but they cannot keep us to go forward in devotional service. They cannot help us to go forward in devotional service. In such chants, there are also many discrepancies which need not be discussed here. Strictly speaking, when chanting the name of the Panchatattva, one should fully be offering his obeisances Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda. By such chanting, one is blessed with the competency to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offense. When chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one should also chant in fully Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One should not foolishly adopt any of the slogans concocted by the imaginative devotees. If one actually wants to derive the effects of chanting, one should strictly follow the great acharyas. This is confirmed in Mahabharat. Mahajano yena gataha sa pantha. Mahajano yena gataha sa pantha. The real path of progress is that which is traversed by great acharyas and authorities. Verse 169, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Tina Jana Shrivasa Gadadhar Adi Yata Bhakta Gana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, Tina, these three Jana personalities, Shrivasa Gadadhar Adi, etc., Yata, all Bhakta Gana devotees. While chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra, one must chant the names of Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar and Shrivas with their many devotees. This is the progress. Verse 170, Sabhakara Pada Padme Koti Namaskar Yaiche Taiche Kaikichu Chaitanya Vihar. Sabhakar of all of them, Pada Padme on the lotus feet, Koti countless Namaskar obeisance, Yaiche Taiche somehow or other kahi I speak kichu something Chaitanya Vihar about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Translation: again and again offer obeisances into the Panchatattva. Thus I think that I will be able to describe the repeat the synonyms again, the word to word meaning again. Sabakara, all of them. Pada Padma, on the lotus feet. Koti, countless. Namaskar, obeisance. Yaiche, Taiche. Somehow or other, kahi I speak, kichu something Chaitanya Vihar about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Translation: I again and again offer obeisances unto the Panchatattva. Thus I think that I will be able to describe something about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 171, Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrit Kahe Krishnadasa. Shri Rupa Goswami Raghunath, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Pade at the lotus feet of Yara, those Asha explain Chaitanya Charitamrita, the book named Chaitanya Charitamrit Kahe describes Krishnadasa. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami praying at the lotus feet of the Rupa and the Raghunath, also desiring the mercy, I Krishnadas narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit following in their footsteps. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to preach the Sankirtan movement of love of Krishna throughout the entire world, and therefore during his presence he inspired the Sankirtan movement. Specifically, he sent Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami to Vrindavan and Nityanand to Bengal, and personally went to South India. In this way, he kindly left the task of preaching his cult in the rest of the world to International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The members of this society must always remember that if they stick to the regulative principles and preach according to the instructions of the Acharya, surely they will have the profound blessings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and their preaching work will be successful everywhere throughout the world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, 7th chapter, describing Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. So thank you for joining in this reading, the conclusion of chapter 7 of Adi Lila, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. So thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.